Receiving a custom order can feel so flattering. It can feel like such a great compliment and affirmation of the good work that you're doing. It's like a nod that someone values what you create and they want more of it. But here's the thing, we have to weigh out whether we have the capacity and the experience to deliver on that request. Welcome to the Breadwinner Podcast. This is the show for sourdough microbakery owners who are building a sustainable, successful, profitable business from their home. If you are already in business or if you're dreaming of starting one, this is the place for you. I'm your host, Caroline Bauer. I own a successful in-home sourdough bakery, and I am here to share everything I've learned that works and that doesn't, plus everything that I'm researching along the way so we can build thriving businesses together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Podcast. Caroline, and today's topic is a really good one. I think it's something that a lot of bakers maybe don't put a lot of thought into, especially when they're just getting started. We're going to be talking about whether or not custom orders fit into your business model, how to figure it out, and then if you decide yes, how to make them work for you. So we'll paint a little picture here. Imagine you have just finished a really long baking day. You're sitting to wind down and you get a message on your phone asking for a custom batch of your famous cinnamon rolls. They need it for a really special family occasion that's coming up this weekend in just a couple days. And you absolutely want to say yes. You don't want to leave them in the lurch. But before you say yes, let's talk about it and figure out whether or not it is the right yes. This scenario can quickly turn into a recipe for overwhelm if you're not prepared. So how do you determine if custom orders are a good fit for your business? Let's go ahead and break it down. So first off, I totally understand that when you are just starting out, receiving a custom order can feel so flattering. It can feel like such a great compliment and affirmation of the good work that you're doing. It's like a nod that someone values what you create and they want more of it. But here's the thing, we have to weigh out whether we have the capacity and the experience to deliver on that request. So if you're still figuring out everything in your processes, saying yes to everything might lead to stress, and it could even lead to disappointment for you or the customer. If you're turning things out in a quick time frame, saying yes to every special request, that can often mean that you're putting out a product that you're not 100% happy with. And sometimes a gentle no that's said with integrity can serve everyone really well. You can always refer the requester out to another local baker who can probably deliver on the request just as well as you, especially if they align better with the product that the person is requesting. So a clear and respectful no not only helps keep your integrity intact, but it also fosters a sense of community among the bakers in your area. Now let's talk about some common pain points that can come up with custom orders. So many bakers, myself included, have felt the overwhelm when faced with one-off requests that disrupt our regular rhythm. So you might find yourself scrambling to accommodate last-minute changes or special requests, and too many of those yeses can really easily lead to burnout. So to go back to our earlier example, imagine you have a really busy weekend. You've been baking all day, prepping all week, and someone comes along asking for a custom batch of something that you can probably do, and they need it in a short time frame. Maybe it's a party happening tomorrow. So how do you juggle that without feeling like you're losing control of your production? So in a minute, I will share my own personal policy on custom orders. But before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about if you decide to accept custom orders, how to make that work well for you and what you need to put in place to know which ones to say yes to, which ones to accept, and how to establish a system that allows you to deliver well on custom orders. The very first thing is to set clear boundaries. So this involves a few things. Number one, we start by creating a custom order policy. This is where you define what types of requests you'll take on. So very easily, you know exactly what you're going to say yes to and what you'll say no to. There is so much power in being clear on your no's. I talk about that all the time, but a firm, solid, clear no is just as effective, just as important as a yes. So, your custom order policy defines what types of requests you take on. So, maybe you decide to accept custom orders only for certain products, only certain cookies, or only scones, or only plain bread, or whatever you feel really good about. You can opt out of anything complex, opt out of anything that requires recipe development or excessive amounts of time. You get to choose. And to back up just a little bit, there are some people, some food producers, some bakers in a variety of baking niches who have a whole business built around custom orders. So it's absolutely possible to make this work for you. It's just a matter of making sure that it really does fit with your business model, that you have the capacity. And so that is what we are digging into today. So that was slight tangent, but back to creating that custom order policy and getting clear on what you say yes to. So an example here could say, I am happy to accept custom orders for sourdough cookies with at least a week's notice. You could say 2 weeks notice, whatever you need. But I won't take on custom requests for my sourdough loaves, for an example. So setting these boundaries helps you manage customer expectations and it protects your precious time. I think most sourdough microbakery owners probably have a pretty similar story to mine. I didn't set out to start a business, but I started baking in an effort to choose exactly what my family was eating. We'd been buying gluten-free bread for years, and I just got sick of feeding my family with all the extra sugar, preservatives, and additives. With the power to choose my own ingredients, I've been seeking out the highest quality flour, both for my family and for the customers of my microbakery. So I have been absolutely loving Sunrise Flour Mill. I've added an organic whole wheat heritage loaf to my menu that my customers are loving. And my family loves the pancake mix and literally anything else that I bake with Sunrise Flour. Their flour is 100% organic, non GMO, heritage grains, and I am such a big fan. Sunrise has generously offered 20% off to the listeners of the podcast, so you can try the flour for yourself using the link down in the show notes. Next up is establishing minimums and lead time. So, if you decide to go ahead and create a system for accepting custom orders, part of that is establishing what is the minimum order that makes this custom order worth your time. So, you might require a minimum order of 6 cookies or a full dozen or even 2 dozen is your minimum quantity for a custom order. So, this way, if a customer wants a special flavor, they know they have to order enough that you're able to make a full batch so you're not just left with extra product that has no other home. Additionally, along with this, you want to make sure that you establish a lead time. So you're giving yourself plenty of time to get the ingredients in. If you need to recipe test, you want to make sure you include enough time for that. So a lead time for you might look like 7 days, it might look like 10 days, it might look like 2 weeks. You decide how much time you need to accommodate that request and you write that into your policy. Make sure that you have breathing room and that you allow yourself time to get the order out without feeling rushed. Another really important factor of custom orders is pricing for profit. So, when it comes to custom orders, it's really crucial to account for all of your costs, including the extra time that it takes and any special ingredients that it might involve. So, for example, if someone orders a custom flavor of sourdough cookies, this might be a really fun order for you, something that you absolutely want to say yes to and you can accommodate, you have the capacity, but you also want to make sure that you are pricing it according to the value of the product. So include any extra flavors, spices, inclusions. If you're not sure on pricing, you can use the app Cake Cost to help you break down. You can input the cost of your ingredients to identify the appropriate pricing for a custom order like this. Make sure you also include any extra time that it requires or if they need anything special like delivery, fold that all into the price. Along with this, if you are pricing differently than a regular menu item, is very clear communication. So before you accept their order, say something like custom orders may have a higher price due to the extra time and the ingredients that are involved. So they know what to expect. You can even write that in your policy, and it shows the value of the care that you put into your work. We've already talked a little bit about clear communication, but this is really important when you are offering a product outside of your regular menu lineup. So make sure your customers know your boundaries and they know what to expect. So, for example, if someone wants a custom flavor that you have never made, you can kindly explain that you only offer flavors on your menu, or that maybe you need time to develop that recipe and the cost of the ingredients required to test that recipe will be reflected in the higher price of that custom order. So, that clear upfront communication helps avoid last minute expenses or surprises and helps keep your baking run smoothly. So, let's get a little bit practical here. Here are some tips for managing custom orders efficiently. Number one, use templates to make your process repeatable. I love templates. My notes app in my phone is filled with templates that I copy and paste. Basically, anytime I notice myself saying the same thing 2 times or more, I just copy it and put it in a note in my phone so that I can just use that and not have to go and type up the same thing every time a conversation occurs. So, for a custom order form, you might use something like a Google form. So, you can just send it to the person when they're ready to order, and it will explain all the things like your lead time, your minimum orders, the fact that their pricing will include the extra ingredients, the extra time, etc. So you don't have to include your exact pricing in the order yet. You can offer that as a quote after they place their request, depending on how you want to set that up. But your form is going to explain all of the details that they need to know before they place their order. It also might include sections for flavors, quantities, pickup dates. So that way you have everything that you need right from the start. As soon as they confirm, you're ready to roll. The next very practical, very important tip is to make sure that you are collecting prepayment before you deliver that product. I've learned this one the hard way, offering product without requiring prepayment. And it was like pulling teeth to get them to pay me. It was miserable. And I only had to make that mistake once before realizing I will not deliver a one off order without prepayment ever again. So learn that from me so you don't have to learn it the hard way. The third practical tip is to consider scheduling in custom bake days. So instead of interrupting your regular bake flow, just dedicate a special day of the week or a special day or a couple special days each month where you accommodate one off custom orders. So this will allow you to focus on your signature primary menu on the times that is already scheduled, and then dedicate the clear focus time to your custom orders in a block of time that's already allocated for that. So I mentioned that I was going to share my own custom order policy. My policy personally is that I do not accept custom orders at all. I have found that I just simply do not have the time, I do not have the capacity, and I have not sat down and created a system for custom orders. So I know that without a system, it would be very easy for anything one off to fall through the cracks. That has happened before. People try to place a one off order, they messaged me, and it just slips through the cracks. So, my policy is every single order comes through my pre orders on the Simply Bread app. I publish it at the same time every week. I rotate my menu and let customers know ahead of time what's coming. And they are always welcome to suggest or request flavors or product. I always consider that, and I often include that in future menu rotations. However, I just say no to custom one off orders. When I was first getting started, I said yes to a few, and overall, the stress much outweighed any compensation that I received monetarily. and I realized it just was not worth it for me. If I were to revisit this and decide to start accepting custom orders, if something changed and my schedule allowed for it, I would establish a very clear ordering process, have everything and more down in writing so customers know exactly what to expect. And so I know exactly what I am required to deliver. And I would require a healthy 10 to 14-day lead time. So I am able to get my ingredients in, plan ahead, and prepare anything that I need to with plenty of breathing room. Anytime I doubt in any way that I can deliver an order with excellence, I just say no. On a similar but slightly different vein is the request for donations. I get requests fairly often from community organizations who are running fundraisers or things like that, and they ask for a free loaf of bread or a free tray of cookies or something like that. And I often say yes to those as long as I have the freedom to determine what I'm donating and it fits into whatever I'm baking that week. So, for example, if I'm donating a basket of products to an auction, I would utilize whatever I am already baking that week, and I would just produce a little bit extra. I would make sure that I write it down for myself so I don't forget and it doesn't slip through the cracks. But that would be the one exception to a custom type of request. I have one coming up in the next month where they want mini desserts. So I already have scones prepped. I will just create a flight or a sampler tray of mini scones. And that is an easy yes because I already have the product prepared. It's frozen and ready to bake from frozen. So I don't have to go out of my way to accommodate that one. And I don't have to risk it falling through the cracks and not delivering on it well. So, to wrap it all up, if you are debating whether or not to accept custom requests, if you're just getting started and people are asking you for custom requests, I encourage you to just sit down with it and decide whether or not you're going to say yes to custom requests. Make it clear from the get go so that you know exactly what your yeses and your nos are. If you decide to say yes, create that very clear order policy that you can offer to anyone who's asking for something. So, by setting those clear expectations, establishing your minimums, pricing effectively, and then communicating with excellence, you can enjoy those fun, creative opportunities that custom orders bring without feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. I hope this has been super helpful and insightful for you. If you took something away from this episode that you'll implement in your own business, I would love to hear about it. I would love if you screenshot the show, share it on Instagram, tag me. I'm Caroline Bauer _sourdough. I absolutely love seeing where you're listening from. And often I will reshare those screenshots so we can all get connected. If you haven't already followed the show, make sure that you click follow so that you get notified every time a new episode drops. I release new episodes every Monday and every Thursday on all of the major podcast platforms, as well as I am slowly adding all of my previous and upcoming episodes to YouTube also. So if you're a visual person, you can see me talk. So if that sounds like fun, go over and subscribe on YouTube too. It's the same content. You just get to see me instead of just listen to me. So I will be back very soon with another episode. But until then, happy baking.